Another beautiful day. I tried to go outside to that same spot that I was recording in yesterday, next to that rock wall. And I go out there and it's actually closed off today. In truth, that was a little spot for like rock climbers. I think there's like a via ferrata there where you can climb the rock face. And I thought that maybe while I was recording I spotted a park ranger kind of park nearby and maybe keep an eye on me. I wasn't climbing, it didn't go past that zone, but maybe I got a little too close for comfort. Got cut down in my prime. Flew too close to the sun, I guess. And I sure did. It was a hot one yesterday. That's actually why I was up there. There was such nice shade over there. So I couldn't find a better spot out there that just had the right setting. So I wandered over here to Schiller Park. Just another beautiful place, honestly. I ended up sitting over here next to the fountain that you might be able to hear running right now. Just a really beautiful scene. This whole park is just gorgeous, really. It's really beautiful in the fall. But yeah, I sat here, got out the bagpipes again, and put in another probably 3 hours this time. In fact, I better keep an eye on my parking spot over there. But I just had a really beautiful moment. I was sitting here playing the pipes, and there's a good bit of space around these fountains, some benches gathered around, and an old man came by and he just sat down sort of across from me on one of the benches, and he just sat and listened. He wasn't really on his phone too much. It's so strange that these days when someone is just sitting and doing nothing, it actually catches you off guard. You're sort of like, what are they doing here? And he was just sitting and listening to the music and I think enjoying the park. And while we were sitting here, another man shows up, and I think he must work here. But he came in and just started sort of skimming the water of the fountain and taking out the fallen leaves and things like that with a net. And I don't know if it's just something about the way that men don't typically talk. Sometimes I think men live a lot of their lives alone in some ways. And it was just really nice. There's like one young man, one old man, and another skimming the fallen leaves out of the fresh water. And it kind of made me think about life a little bit. I wonder how many times that man has already been by today to clean out the water. Like, it's got me thinking about, well, it's hard to ignore the obvious metaphor of fallen leaves and old age and clearing of the old forest for the new growth. Certainly those themes are on my mind, but I don't know. I think sometimes you can have moments that speak to you deeply, even if you don't quite understand how to articulate them in shallow means. And I think that's just what that was right there. It has me thinking also about just all of the little tiny things that go into keeping things beautiful and smooth running and maintained. I mean, we just walk around the world that we live in today, and I think to maybe my generation, I think sometimes we act like this all got here by accident, or maybe that it was already here. And that's the point. All of this beautiful world, the cities that we live in, and the places that we get to enjoy, all of this was here before I showed up in 2001. And the park doesn't just stay clean, and the water doesn't just stay clear of leaves. Someone out there has to put in the work to maintain that. And it's not just one person, it's 100,000 people that you'll never meet showing up every day in little tiny acts of, honestly, of love, keeping this world running, well, I can't speak too much about the roads running. We got a bit of a construction problem over here in Ohio, but really, people are keeping this world running. And I think that sometimes as a young man, you forget just how much of the world is here because of millions of people doing thankless work every day. And I think on one end that feels like a horrible reality, but on the other hand, there's something beautiful about it. Like, there's something beautiful as a young man getting to walk around a park that I didn't build, sit under the shade of trees that I didn't plant, next to a fountain that I didn't engineer, and just take in the beauty and sort of I think in this way get to appreciate all the work that went into creating a beautiful place like this before I came around. And I think it reminds me of, I think something that we're growing too forgetful of in our culture, which is, there is such a thing as maybe being a self-made man, going out there and steering your own ship in a way, making something of your life. But everything that you have, your body, your mind, it was given to you. Everything, the clothes on your back. I think that when you get in conversations about self-improvement, bettering your life, of course, there is, you have to take some responsibility for the life that you live, and even unfairly so. Take responsibility for things that maybe weren't your responsibility. And that's so you can make something of your life and be at the head of your own ship. But I don't think that that has to negate an equal truth, which is, and yet, all of this, all that I am, and everything that's before me, was here before me, and it'll be here after me. Because it's not mine, it never was, it was given to me. And I think that both of those can be true at the same time. I think that you can make something of your life and take responsibility for the things that you are, alongside the recognition that the things that make up your life, even the things that make up you, are not wholly yours in the first place, or in the end. And maybe I'm just getting a little bit older, but yeah, I'm coming around to that. I think as a young man, I think as a young boy, I was really so much about certainty, like narrowing down on things. It was yes or no, black or white. I needed answers. I needed it to be one or the other. Only one thing could make sense. There could only be one truth. Like that's how I tended to think back in the day. And I think my younger self would have really struggled to live in a world where both I have responsibility for my life because everything is my fault in a way, and everything that I get to enjoy is not mine, it was given to me. I think I would have struggled and had to choose between one of those frameworks. And the older I get, I'm realizing life is all in the shades. It's all in the nuance. It's in the in-between. And rather than either or, life is so often a case of both and. Multiple things can be true. And that just brings me to another theme. I think as I get older, I'm scared to say that I'm getting better at this, but I'm seeing the importance in just allowing for things to be. Like, I think when you're younger, you tend to think of creation, making something, as a very positive act, and not positive as in pros and cons, but more like it's something that you do. You're going to build something with your hands. You're going to plant a garden. You're going to write a song. It feels like you're doing something in a very active sense. But the older I get, I'm realizing that creation is really, it's a permissive act. It's like, how do you grow a tomato, really? Like, what does it mean for you to grow a tomato? The tomato is kind of doing the growing in a way. You are maybe setting up the conditions, exactly, to allow for that growth to take place. And really, you can stop a tomato from growing. There's a lot of ways to kill a plant. And you can sort of decide to not kill the plant. You can decide to not stop the plant from growing. You can allow for it to grow. But it's not really up to you if the plant grows in the end. And I mean, that's just one example of something in life that I think is a good example of this theme of allowance. But yeah, I'm realizing that at least for creation in my life, not just in gardening, so much is a case of allowing things to be and not making them in such an active sense. You are actively not getting in the way. You are actively allowing for something to come into existence. And whether that be friendships or relationships, romantic interests, so much of life is that way. Can you really make somebody your friend? You can't control them, you can try. And maybe I have in the past. That doesn't mean that, it's entirely on a whim and you have no idea who's going to become your friend because you have no say in the matter. No. It's an encounter, like I was talking about yesterday. You can set up the conditions that put yourself in the way of a new friendship. And yeah, I think the younger man in me has spent a lot of time trying to steer his own ship and make things happen. I've got dreams that I want to come true. I've got money that I want to make. I've got things that I want to learn. I got people that I want to see, right? Making all those things happen. But I think nowadays I understand that it's a young man's game to try to control the entire world all the time. And that's not even a game that you really want to win. That's a game only a young man would want to win, in fact. I'm realizing now that it's so much more beautiful that I can't just control everything. And nor am I just floating around in a sea of random things happening to me. I can put myself in the way of things. If I want to have a good day, maybe it's probably closer to being up to me, but I can put myself in the way of having a good day. I can get a good night's sleep. I can make sure there's food in my stomach. I can focus on the positive things in my life. Maybe those things don't guarantee that I'll have a good day, in the same way that, taking care of a garden doesn't mean the tomato plant is going to grow, but you're putting yourself in the way of those things happening. And I'm realizing that that's ultimately just a more beautiful way of being. Thank God it's not all up to me, and thank God it's not all beyond me either. I can truly have an encounter with this beautiful life that I get to live and put myself in the way of good things. And maybe that's a good note to wrap up on. Putting yourself in the way of good things. I'm finding that I think you really spend the first part of your life trying to get the things that you want. That's all you think about. All you think about is yourself, and you don't even quite get that as a young person, just how self-centered you really are. It's like the whole point about the real blind spots are the ones you don't even know you have, right? But, you spend the first part of your life, I think, trying to get what you want. And maybe you'll get it. Maybe. And I think you spend the next part of your life, and maybe that's half and half, maybe that's 3/4 and a fourth, I don't know. But you spend the next part of your life, I think, learning to want better things. And that's where I'm at. And sometimes I think actually the fastest way to get to that second part is through the first, not around it. Getting the things that you want, making the money that you want to make, meeting the people that you want to meet, learning the skills that you want to learn, being the things that you want to be. And you get to the top of that mountain and realize, wow, maybe that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And I've still got 60 years left in this thing. And at that point you learn there really is such a value in not just getting what you want, not spending your whole life just getting what you want, but spending your life learning to want better things, because maybe you'll just get the things that you're after. So that's where I'm at today. I appreciate you listening, and hopefully you're enjoying this scene as much as I am. I'll catch you around.